Talk about well-connected. For Joel Glickman, that refers both to his family's roots in the plastic manufacturing business and a spin-off invention, his snap-together construction set, K'NEX. And when the big toy companies rejected his creation, Glickman decided to build it anyway. Roller coasters, Ferris wheels, and more, much more.
What is this called?
It's just a hopper.
Intricate creations constructed with a plastic product called K'NEX, a build-it-yourself toy invented by this big kid, Joel Glickman, at the tender age of 50.
I really built K'NEX for myself. I was at a wedding and I don't dance, so I was fooling around and I asked the waitress to bring over a bunch of straws, and I felt that, you know, if we had the right connector, you might have a product that would be worth something.
But he never imagined snipping straws would turn into a multi-million-dollar business.
How we got here, I still am amazed that we have in fact gotten here.
It's a place that inspires creativity, encourages imaginations to run wild, where workers dream up and design new toys. Not just any toys. K'NEX are toys that challenge kids to dream, think, create, assemble. The company's state-of-the-art manufacturing facility holds more than 100 presses that pump out several billion plastic parts every year, each one calibrated to within fractions of a human hair's width. About half the company's output are K'NEX pieces. And at the heart of it all is 72-year-old Joel.
You need some of these? They're yours.
A sort of Willy Wonka with a toy factory.
The basic sort of molding has been around for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
But all of the automation, the computers that drive it, that's brand new stuff.
In fact, it's worlds away from where he started.
We had a place that looked like the Tijuana jail. It had a low slung bars on the windows kind of thing.
Not quite a jail, it was a factory owned by the Rodon Group, a custom plastic injection molding business founded by Joel's father, Irving Glickman, back in 1956. Way back then, Rodon had just 4 presses, cranking out pieces like plugs, caps, and shower rings. As a fine arts major in college, Joel had absolutely no intention of going into plastics.
And I was going to paint. My parents were not really pleased about that, as you might imagine. And then I met a girl. So my dad said, look, if you had any interest at all in this girl, you better figure out a way to earn a living.
His love for the girl, Brenda, now his wife of nearly 50 years, helped push him into the family business.
I said, all right, I'll give it a try. And to our mutual surprise, I was actually quite good at it.
Soon, Joel and his brother Bob began taking over the company from their father, eventually breaking ground for a bigger facility with 5 silos that hold more than 1 million pounds of plastic resin.
This is what the resin is like.
That's the plastic resin.
That's the plastic resin.
Just like today, the resin was mixed with dyes to color them, and then through these high-pressure presses, pushed into molds and transformed into a myriad of different parts.
For a fine arts major, you're doing pretty good.
I'm doing okay. Yeah, for a fine arts major.
But by 1990, after nearly 30 years in the plastic-making industry, Joel had had enough. He was ready to retire when, at that infamous wedding, he hit on the construction toy idea.
What I wanted was a manufacturing contract and a royalty. And then I could go back to playing golf.
He began fiddling with a classic, Tinker Toys, and quickly discovered its construction limitations.
If you've got a hole in there, if you've got a rod that you want to put across here, and this is a hole.
Yeah, you
can't get it in there, and you can't get it in this one without misshaping this.
Yes.
Once I understood that, I understood what the problem was going forward.
And he understood how he wanted his connectors to work.
These snap in from the side, like so.
Right.
And there's a click, and it's just right.
Soon, the idea of manufacturing his toy parts became an obsession. Joel wanted Rodon to shift gears and only develop new molds for his toy set, no creating molds for existing, mostly industrial clients, until they finished with the toys.
And that was a risk.
A
calculated risk.
A calculated risk, but manufacturing is not for cowards. It really isn't.
But he still needed his brother and the others in the family business to agree.
So what was the family's reaction when Joel comes along and says, we're going to shut down production?
At first, they ignored him. because sometimes Joel has a lot of ideas and we move on to the next thing. But in this case, he stuck with it.
Michael Arreton is Joel's son-in-law and the current president and CEO of K'NEX Brands.
We also made the analysis that would we survive if it was an utter failure? And we figured that it would take 3 or 4 years to work our way out of it if it was an utter failure.
The Rodon Group spent 1.5 years and $3 million building the yet-to-be-named rod and connector set. Joel was so convinced everyone would clamor for the toy that he pitched it to Hasbro and Mattel.
What ended up turning out was that none of the toy companies wanted it.
How do you overcome the rejection?
You get annoyed, which I did, and decided, well, we'll do it ourselves. If they're that dumb, what they know can't be difficult to learn.
They finally decided on a name, developed their own packaging, started marketing it, and at first shipped it out to a few local shops. Then, a big break. A buyer for Toys R Us decided to test market K'NEX, and at the 1993 New York City Toy Fair, Toys R Us founder Charles Lazarus sang its praises.
He walks in, the press says, "What do you think?" He says, "It's the best thing I've seen in 4 years. I'm taking it in all my stores." And once that happened, we knew we had a business.
What was that moment like?
It's the Super Bowl, and you're the MVP of the Super Bowl. And I think we went from 0 in sales to 20+ million in sales in like that conversation.
After another $12 million investment to increase production, sales grew to more than $40 million, and by 1997, they blossomed to about $100 million. Joel and his brother Bob hired a toy company exec to help run the business. Joel wanted to get back to his golf game. But his retirement was short-lived.
Joel's brother called Joel at the end of 2004 and said, "I've been told we have to declare bankruptcy."
In Joel's absence, a big chunk of K'NEX manufacturing had been moved overseas. The product was changing and business was suffering. Joel sought the counsel of his son-in-law Michael, who at the time was a successful attorney for another company.
Joel and I sat down in his house and said, are we going to sell this business or are we going to make it grow? And we decided to make it grow.
The outside executive stepped down, and Joel asked Michael to come on board.
And he said, the only way I'm going to come in is if you come back. So I came back, rehired myself, and brought in Michael at the same time.
Together, they brought almost all of the manufacturing back to their plant in Pennsylvania and improved production systems.
We've invested in these 5- and 7-axis robots, and what that allows us to do is pack very efficiently within the box.
It's like a Pixar movie character, that thing, you know what I mean?
Once again, they poured millions back into the business, started soliciting partners for licensing deals and making those molds.
When we were working on Sesame Street, this is Elmo's hand.
When did you know it was working?
When Sesame said yes.
Other brand names followed, like NASCAR, Mario Kart Wii, and the smartphone app sensation Angry Birds. The hard work and huge investment are finally restoring their former fortunes.
During the last 3 years, we grew in sales from about 60 million, in the end of 2008 to closing in on 100 million now.
Joel still likes squeezing in some golf, but for a guy who never lost his childlike love of tinkering, playing on the job is often just as satisfying.
I'm the major toy checker. If I think it's fun, the kids generally think it's fun.
You're a big kid.
I'm a big kid, a big old kid.
Hasbro, one of the companies that initially rejected K'NEX, eventually became its European distributor and asked Joel Glickman's group to redesign and manufacture some of their classics. First, Lincoln Logs, and later Tinker Toys, the product that helped Glickman work the kinks out of K'NEX.